Morning. I want to talk to you today about your relationship with time inside your business. Now, many of you know I have 5 children, ranging in age from 19 all the way down to 3, nearly 4. It's a little bit easier now because my nearly 4-year-old is in preschool 5 days a week, so I do have a bit more time to myself than I did. But I have absolutely continued to run my business during all the seasons of pregnancy, breastfeeding, newborns, toddlers, you name it, I've done it. And I've also really, I think, nailed consistency. Like, consistency is something that I am really good at. And a lot of that has to do with time management. So some of the elements of managing your time in your business are about literally just being organized, like batching things, getting things planned in advance, creating a schedule for yourself and sticking to it. This is something I find a lot of women really struggle with because their work in the world and what they want to create and put out into the world is not prioritized. So very often it'll be seen as like a side hustle or a hobby, and there's always a million other things that get in the way, and then it just ends up kind of being bumped off the list of things to do day after day. So one of the things that's really helped me build my business and be consistent is the fact that I need to do that for income generation. Like, I support my household. I'm a single parent, so I absolutely have to work and I have to generate income to support my family and my home. But that's not the only thing. It's also that I have prioritized the fact that my dharma, my purpose, my work is important and it matters. And I model that to my children and I show them that, my work and what I'm doing is a priority, as well as, they're a priority too. And I care for them and I look after them, but it's important and it's not always going to be put to the bottom of the list of what's important. So these are like practical logistical steps: prioritizing your work, batching things, meaning doing them, in a group rather than every day creating social media, like, for example, creating social media as a batch, or writing emails, or creating content for a course or an offering or a workshop. I really try to maximize my time management in that way, so I'm not constantly dipping in and out of tasks, which has a big mental load. That'll really slow you down. But what I want to talk about today is not so much all of this practical strategic stuff, and more actually the esoteric and the mystical element of time. So we are taught to think of time very much in the masculine mode of it's linear. You're born, you live your life, you die. It's a line, it's a continuum. You wake up in the morning, you do the day, and then you go to bed at night, and then a new day begins. And whilst this is true from one perspective, on one sort of plane of reality, it is also true, and this is a scientific fact, there's nothing woo-woo about this, it is also true that physics tells us time actually isn't linear. Time can disappear, time can loop, time is not actually the framework that we think it is at all. Now, I'm not even going to begin to suggest that I understand quantum physics, because I absolutely, most definitely do not. But I do think that's a really, really interesting phenomena to contemplate. And I think we've all have a lived experience of this. Like, have you ever done a job where you look at the clock and you're like, oh my goodness, there's still 2 hours of this shift to go. It's so boring. How am I going to get through this? Like, I've done plenty in my time of sort of menial minimum wage type jobs, working in shops, cafes, cleaning jobs, you name it. I'm sure you have too. Where time slows down and you're literally counting the hours until you can knock off the end of your shift. That, my friends, is a waste of your life. What a terrible, terrible way to spend your time, literally wishing it would just pass. And it's a means to an end. I think, there's also a place for doing boring menial jobs. There's a lot to be learned in that process. And, my kids have done it. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it too. I do want to suggest that as quickly as you possibly can, organizing your life in such a way that you can do a job you love is really valuable and important to prioritize. So I would love to think that anyone listening to this or watching this is prioritizing doing work in the world that you love, that is in alignment with your passion, that really lights you up and has you feeling excited. And if that's not the case, taking steps and action, to move in that direction, because your time is precious. Your time is too short to not be doing that. the flip side to that is when you're doing something you really love and you're really passionate about and you feel that time is running out. Like I so often, because I love my work, I love what I do, I drop the kids at school and then I have this window of time when they're all at school in which I work. And so often I'm chasing the clock. I'm like, I have to leave the house at 2:30 to go pick them up. I'm like, oh my goodness, 2:30 is only 2 hours away. It's only an hour away, and I'm chasing for more time. And that to me is a really strong indicator that I love what I'm doing. It's a really great way of sort of showing me that what I'm doing is something I love and I'm passionate about. And when I get into that zone, the time just flies. It goes so fast. So I want to invite you to think about that in your business. Like, can you find a way to be doing things that actually light you up so much that the vortex of time goes really quickly? That's a really big clue that you're in your dharma, that you're on purpose. And then the other piece around this is to think about the ways in which time can contract or expand. You can make time bigger, and you can slow time down. And I absolutely believe this, and I have lived experience of this. Have you ever watched the show MasterChef or any other similar show where people are on a challenge and they're on a time countdown? So in MasterChef, I haven't watched it for a while, but I used to watch it religiously. I used to really love that show. I haven't watched it for a few years now. They often have to present a meal, and it has to be very beautifully decorated and curated and presented. Plated up is the term they use on MasterChef. And in the last minute, the countdown will be on, and they're carefully arranging and plating up and putting the hot meat or whatever it is onto the plate. And in that last 60 seconds, it seems like time has completely slowed down, because in 60 seconds they do so much, and then they present the plate to the judges. And I've often noticed when I'm watching that, I feel the tension, of course, because they're under this massive time pressure. But my goodness, that 60 seconds feels like a long time. Like, you could do so much in that 60 seconds. And yet think about what we do with the hours of our days. So often we're just kind of fiddling around, wasting time, scrolling, complaining, gossiping, watching things that are not kind of uplifting, wasting our time, wasting the precious resource of our time. And, in the advent of AI, in a world where information is so easily accessed, what I believe is that time is our most precious resource. Time and focus. Your precious faculty of attention, as my teacher Sharon Gannon calls it, your precious faculty of attention, and your time. So choosing where to put these with absolute precision, like really curating your day, being very disciplined and very clear about how you're going to spend your time. All of these things will really help you in building up your business. And if you have an hour, really think to yourself, how can I stretch this time? How can I make this time more meaningful? What can I get done in this time that will feel really juicy and not just productive but fulfilling, and utilize your time in that way. And I want you to also think about visualizing expansion of time rather than contraction. So trying to really feel and see a sense of spaciousness around the time that you have, and feel it expand, and feel what that might be like if time was expanded rather than this constant rush feeling of contraction. In other words, we can play with the energetics of time. It's not all about we only have 24 hours in a day. Yes, we do, but our perception around that and how we work with it can become very different, actually, depending on the sort of energetic quality and tone that we bring to it. So that's some ruminations on time. I have a couple of things coming up I want to offer you around this subject, which is so dear to my heart because it's been such a big project for me to get on top of my time management with such a large family and a big business that's always growing. I have a free session coming up with my dear mentor, colleague and peer, Kaya Mindlin. That's over on Bhakti Rose, my other yoga and Ayurveda business. We will be talking about time very much from the perspective of the goddess, from the perspective of yoga philosophy, and from the perspective of Jyotish, which is the Vedic astrology. So that's a free session with an absolute expert and inspiration in this area, Kaya. You can hop over to Bhakti Rose and find out about that and sign up for it. It's an hour-long Zoom class, and if you can't make the live, of course, when you register, we'll send you the recording. I also have a new program coming out towards the end of this month, towards the end of February, which is called the Yoga of Time. And whilst it is a yoga product, you know, it's an offering, an online offering around the spiritual and esoteric teachings of time, it also contains a lot of gold for those of you in business, a lot of very practical, very pragmatic information and resource around managing your time in your business and your work in the world. So those two things are coming up. Look out for them over on Bhakti Rose. But for now, I hope there were some useful tips in this presentation around how you use your time. And I guess the seed I really want to sow for you today is that yes, the amount of time you have is finite, and yes, we all have the same time, but our attitudes and perceptions around that time vary enormously. And what you bring to the 24 hours that you have in your day will really set the tone and really set the flavor and the feeling of how you live your life, because time is our most precious resource.